And with that, welcome to the next part of the Drunk series. And no, I have not forgotten about this series, just eventual I had a little case of writer's block. But here we are with part 2c, and this is the part about MatsuHana and UshiTen. I hope you still remember what happened before, and I hope you will like it. Have you ever had struggles finding good Haikyuu merch or anime merch in general? Because I for sure did. It can be hard. But this shop offers amazing merch. Like, I'm literally obsessed with the Haikyuu merch. They have the cutest hoodies ever. Now, if you want to get 10% off, click the link in the description. They offer me a collaboration, which is literally amazing. And you support my channel this way. So, win-win. Let's go. Driving home was a challenge, to put it mildly. Tender tried convincing Ushijima to let him hold onto the ace like a koala while he drove, which was simply too dangerous. It took forever to convince the redhead to stay in the passenger seat. Now he sat there, arms crossed and his back turned demonstratively towards the ace, clearly sulking. 10. Tender twitched and looked at him from the side, eyes narrowed in suspicion. Stop with the nicknames. It's not fair. I'm sorry. Stop with the apologizing. Also not fair. He mumbled the words into the fabric of his shirt as he slowly started to chew on it. When they finally arrived home, Ushijima opened Tendu's door for him, but the other didn't move one bit. It seemed as if he wanted to say something and was debating with himself. Do you want me to carry you? The redhead looked up at him with big glassy eyes and nodded before reaching for him. Ushijima gladly took him in his arms and cradled him against his chest. Toshi? Yes, Satori? A wide grin spread on his face. I have a total crush on you. He laughed in a way only drunk people could and let his head fall back. His movement threw off their balance, and would Ushijima be any less of an athlete, they for sure would have fallen. The ace's usually so stoic mask melted into a soft smile as he maneuvered his very drunk boyfriend inside, struggling only a little bit with his inability to stay still. He placed him on the couch gently and was immediately pulled down to his level by his neck. Did you hear? Yes, Saturday. I know. Wait, really? Tendu's eyes widened in his typical fashion and he let go of Ushijima's neck. The ace chuckled and gently brushed the red strands of hair out of his face. We're dating, Ten. The redhead looked at him incredulously. He said nothing, making Ushijima slightly nervous before throwing himself around his neck, causing them to stumble and fall. A bubbly laughter echoed through the room as they landed on the ground, with Tendu snuggling up to him. I love you, Toshi. The ace gently pulled him closer to his chest, softly petting the silky hair and holding him close. The slight discomfort the hard-wooden floor inflicted paled next to the warmth and comfort radiating from his boyfriend. His heart beat better in sync with Tendu's laugh. He placed a tender kiss on his forehead and basked in Tendu's joy. I love you too, Ten. They stayed on the ground for a while, just enjoying each other's presence. Tendu still giggled occasionally and whispered sappy comments into the night, and Ushijima loved every second of it. Tendu was special, and he loved him with every fiber of his being. His loud and chaotic nature and the passionate way he loved and expressed that very love was endearing to him. To him, there was nothing more precious in the world than the sleepy redhead dozing away in his lap. Hey, Ten. He gently nudged his arm and stroked his cheek in an attempt to gain his attention. Satori? He groaned, his eyes opening ever so slightly. Ushijima smiled again and bent down to kiss his nose, knowing very well that Tendu loved when he did that. Even now in his sleep-drunken state, and well, certainly intoxicated state, a wide smile spread on his face. Come on, let's get you to bed. He tried to get up, but Tendu seemed to make himself as heavy as possible, grinning mischievously, or as close as he could get to it, half asleep. He eventually managed to sit up and cradle Tendu in his arms. It wasn't exactly easy getting the other upstairs. By the time he got him into bed, Tendu was fast asleep. Then Tala sighed, tugging him in to the best of his abilities and making him as comfortable as possible. Tomorrow, he would for sure be hungover, but Ushijima would be there for him, no matter what. His eyes glanced over at the drawer, as if he could see the little box hidden within the very last corner of it. Matsun found himself battling his drunk boyfriend in a staring contest the moment they came home. It had been a pain convincing him to leave the bar, and he wasn't thrilled to repeat the very same thing in front of their house again. Are you coming inside? Hanamaki huffed and pouted. Okay, fine by me. He turned around, leaving Maki in the car as he walked inside their apartment complex. It wasn't exactly fair, but his patience was wearing a little thin after this whole ordeal. He sat down at the bottom of the stairs, waiting. He didn't want to get complaints from the neighbors when Hanamaki finally did decide to come inside, but worst case, couldn't remember which apartment was theirs anymore. A sigh of relief escaped his throat as the pink-haired finally stumbled through the door. He seemed irritated, and Matsun almost expected him to start pouting again upon seeing him waiting, but he didn't. His eyes were still glassy as they found him, and he was weirdly silent. Wanna go home now? He nodded and allowed Matsun to lead him to their apartment. Matsukawa gently took his hand and caressed the skin as he pulled them forward. Hey, you good? The other nodded absent-mindedly as they walked inside. As soon as they managed to get their shoes and jackets off, Matsun gently tugged at his hand, pulling him into his arms. He drew patterns on his back as they remained still for a moment, just holding each other. Well, Matsukawa was holding Hanamaki. He was still barely sober enough to stand upright. Barely. It's okay. Come on, we get you to bed. Hanamaki's occasional mood swings, especially when intoxicated, were nothing new to him. Under the firm mask of confidence and humor, Maki harbored a handful of deeply rooted yet well-hidden insecurities. Like the sprouts of a sickly tree forced to grow in the shadows with roots stretching and spreading wide through rotten soil, slim with little to no leaves stretching its bony twigs towards the light. He clasped his hand tighter and proceeded to lead them through their apartment. In their bedroom, he quickly gathered 2 sets of pajamas from their drawers and threw one at Maki, who glared at him as it hit him straight in the face, while Matsun chuckled. Come on, or do you need my help to change as well? He teased and regretted it immediately. A sly smirk spread on Hanamaki's face, and with a dramatic sigh, he let himself fall onto the bed. I'm afraid so. I can't even stand upright. Matsun rolled his eyes but gladly complied. Or at least tried to, but Maki wasn't exactly helpful. His eyes narrowed and he leaned down to kiss the pink hair on his cheek, which were still flushed bright red from the alcohol. It worked, and with a distraction, he managed to free him from his shirt. Maki looked at him surprised before pulling him down by his neck and kissing him deeply. He licked over his bottom lip and into his mouth as he gasped slightly, hands wandering over his chest and legs finding their way around his waist. For a second, he entertained the idea Hanamaki was suggesting before gently but determinedly loosening Maki's grip on him and pulling away. His lips were slightly swollen as he looked at him confused. Matsun smiled gently as he traced the shape of his bottom lip with his finger before placing a tender, feather-like kiss on the very same spot. It was the polar opposite to the heated one he had found himself entangled in before. You're drunk, Hero. Now is not the time. So? Hiro, you can't give consent right now. I can. Matsun rolled his eyes, but smiled. He engulfed him in a gentle embrace and pulled him closer again. I love you, more than anything, but I won't sleep with you tonight, not before you sober up. A small huff echoed between them, and Matsun couldn't help but chuckle again. When they separated, Hanamaki suddenly got up, a bit more steady on his feet than before, and made his way to the bathroom. Matsukawa turned back to put on some clothes, deciding to check on him afterward, but before he could, Maki already returned. His hair and shoulders were dripping wet. That broke the camel's back, and Matsukawa burst out laughing. He couldn't help it. So, you're sober now. Maki grumbled something incoherent while glaring at him, apparently not as convinced from his own idea as before. Instead of basking in this absolutely glorious moment for a little longer, the taller had mercy and went to fetch a towel before drying his hair and making sure he really went to bed this time. He placed a glass of water and painkillers on the nightstand and a bucket next to the bed, just in case, before getting him another blanket in hopes it could prevent him from getting sick due to his own stupidity. Hanamaki was already soundly asleep when he climbed into bed beside him and wrapped him in his arms. Good night, Hiro. I love you. Thank you all so much for watching to the end. I hope you liked this very late update of this series. It was a lot of fun coming back to it, and I will definitely, I can promise you the next part coming soon. And yes, that was basically what I wanted to say. I'm not good at outros. I'm really not. But yeah, if you want to have something like this again, like a drunk series part, tell me in the comments because it's so much fun writing it. And if you liked it, consider leaving a like and consider subscribing so you won't miss out on anything in the future. And now I hope you have a wonderful and amazing day.